Hello and welcome to LiveScore Champions League Memories. I'm your host, Con Murphy, and today we are at the Stella Cinema in Rathmines to look back on Dundalk's iconic 2016 campaign. It was such a memorable time for the Oriel Park Club, and I'm joined by Vinny Perth, by Dane Massey and Ciarán Kilduff.
Maybe before we talk about that Champions League campaign in 2016, we should look at the foundations. And Vinny, you know, winning the league in 2014, running away with the league in 2015, and then, you know, doing the League and Cup double in 2015. When we're talking about foundations going into a European campaign, that's what, you know, rock solid.
Yeah, there was definitely momentum building within the group, and I think the group was always improving as well in terms of the squad. And I think around that time we never worked off a really big squad. There was 14, 15, and it was supplemented, and some of that was for obviously budget reasons. But I think then we went out and got Daryl Horgan after the sort of start. We went out and got people like Ciarán Kilduff, and I think we started to add real quality into the group, and I think that was obviously a huge boost for the core that was there at the time. And I think all of them things came. Remember when we look at, say, a year like 16, when we were taking David McMillan off, we were bringing Ciarán Kilduff on, or vice versa. I think that's the huge foundation for a really successful side. So there was planning involved every off season. We'd review where we need to improve and where we need to get better. But the signing of people like Ronan Finn, as I said, Daryl Horgan, all Ciarán Kilduff, all players that really improved us, and ultimately then, you know, it worked on the pitch.
And Ciarán, when you look at that league winning campaign, 33 matches, just one defeat in 33 matches, and I suppose winning games and not losing breeds a great confidence in a squad of players.
Yeah, massively. I suppose obviously getting signed for the club in 2015, I knew I was joining something that was kind of already in momentum. They'd already, you know, had won the league the year before. They were defending champions. But like Vinny said, I was honoured at the time to say, okay, I could be part of this. You knew something big was coming, and you knew the quality that was already there. Yeah, obviously momentum was huge, and I was lucky. My first game on my debut for the club, I scored the winner out in Bray, which allowed me kind of not to take a bit of pressure off signing, but you know, it's a great start for me that he played a little bit of a role in something that was already achieving stuff. So you just wanted to come in, and that was huge just for me, for my confidence from the start. But you know, that team had been, you know, before had won the league and went on to win many more. So it was a well-oiled machine in that sense. But yeah, look, I was happy to play a role in it, and the quality can't really be questioned there, and the recruitment from management and the club seemed to always work out for them. So there was obviously a lot of prep and thought within that.
Dane, did you feel that you were part of something special there under Stephen and Vinny, that you know, something big was about to happen?
Yeah, 100%. The group of players that were together there really had a point to prove from day one. And as the years went on and the more cups and trophies we won, the hunger grew more and more so. And it was such a close-knit group. Like, there was no little cliques. Like, we were just chatting there about, we were all playing board games and flying all over Europe. So over a matter of time, like, we were nearly all best friends. Like, it was a great group, and I think it's rare, and it definitely had a massive effect on the outcome on the pitch. You know, we have each other's back on and off the pitch, and we were a very, very close group. Yeah.
And I presume that was part of the key, Vinny, in terms of managing a group, that you can create that kind of esprit de corps.
Yeah, because I mean, people talk about Dundalk and they associate money and a wealth around the club, but I think that, and for us, I think that's so unfair, because you look at our back four that would have been the main back four, for want of a better word, throughout that period. You look at Sean Gannon was released by Shamrock Rovers, released by St. Pat's effectively. You look at Andy Boyle, was at Shelbourne, he was there for everyone else to sign. Brian Gartland had moved on from up the north. Again, he was available for everyone else to sign. Dane had a number of years at Bray, and there were people that, to be fair, Stephen really believed in. And you look at that back four, and that's one of the greatest back fours of all time. Obviously, someone like Paddy Barrett played a huge part in that, but that back four was for want of a better word, quite inexpensive to put together.
Yeah.
But they'd something to prove, and the journey they went on and the success they had. But yeah, to the bigger point, you don't know when you're signing. Are you signing really good people? You get a flavour from people they've worked with. But like the four of them are four examples of just brilliant people who went on to have wonderful careers, obviously. But and it's not being disrespectful to them, but they were all there for everyone else to sign at the time. The best clubs, whether it was Sligo, whether it was Pats, whether it was Rovers, but they came to Dundalk, and the whole blend and the mixture of work together, and the rest is history, as they say, for them people.
And is that, Dane, what you mean when you say, you know, you had a point to prove when you joined Dundalk?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can only speak for myself here, but I was at Bray and I had 5 good years there, and I was kind of at an ultimatum now: will I carry on, or will I knock the football on the head? And Stephen Kenny was managing Shamrock Rovers that year, and we had a good game against him. I played centre mid, and I had a particularly good game in the middle. So when Stephen obviously was released, and at the end of the year he rang me and he said, look, would you like to come play with me? And then I can always remember the meeting in the plaza in Tala. Like, for the first 20 minutes he was asking me about my family and what do I like to do off the pitch. So he was really getting to know me and my personality, and yeah, it was huge for me, a manager taking an interest in not just in football and what I'm about and what my family and where I'm from, basically.
Yeah,
I think he did that with a lot of players, because even if you look at it, he signed me from the stands in Inchicore. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was the best player at Pats or anything at the time. I wasn't even playing, and to kind of straight away he just taps into that side. And Vinny as well, like, they just probably saw something in you, a bit of belief into a player, and hopefully then, you know, you begin to play better because of it. So
Exactly.
Yeah, and I remember, funny enough, Stephen done the vast majority of that work, and I wouldn't undervalue that. But I remember going to watch Bluebell United, and Richie Tell was playing, and the Trevor Crowley was there with Colin Hawkins from Rovers watching him, and Liam Buckley was there from Pats. And at the time I was in a Malahide United tracksuit because I was doing some work with them, but I was actually there working for Stephen at the time, and chatting to the two lads, and a bit of a funny story, but told both Pats and Rovers at the time Richie wasn't that good and he wasn't doing that well in the Leinster Senior League. Came out, got into my car, rang Stephen, said just go and do it. And well, they came back to have another look. We went and signed Richie, and again, Richie was phenomenal for us in terms of the beginning of that run that we went on. So little things like that go your way. It doesn't always work out that way, but thankfully the lads, Trevor Crowley at the time, brilliant coach, and Liam Buckley listened to my advice that day, and we got the job done. So sometimes it is little bits of luck like that go your way.
And Richie, was it 25 goals he scored that season in the league winning campaign? I mean, unbelievable.
from midfield.
Yeah.
15, yeah.
Yeah, but the belief Stephen gave him, and Richie is, from the outside looking in, he's a divisive character in terms of his stature and in terms of his physical appearance, and people comment on it. But just like that will to win. I think we had a couple of guys like that, and we have to have people like that. And he came in, his will to win in games and training sessions paid off, and he was a huge part of what we done.
Yeah, him and Daryl Horgan really stood out for me. You know, they had really that hunger in training. Like, even in the five-a-side, they always had to be on the winning team, and it's kind of like people like that drive the standard up in training, and it's good to keep it going. Like.
But Daryl, after training, I remember I was the one, and we trained in the evenings at the beginning. I'd be standing out, and I was obviously working in the mornings. It might be 8:30, 9 o'clock going, I need to go home, like I'm an hour and a half from home here. But just that bending them in from the far side, just rolling them, standing there, laying them off, and it's good that fellas like that will still remember that and send you the odd text to remind you. But these people, that whole sort of combination of people came together to make just a phenomenal group.
Yeah. And you turned out to be the RTE Team of the Year, actually, that year, which is, you know, it's not that often that a League of Ireland team will win the RTE Team of the Year. So that was great recognition for your achievements as well.
Massive, yeah. I think, and I think it was justified as well, because as Vinny said, it didn't happen by accident. There was a lot of work went into that. A lot of people in the club had sacrificed a lot, and it wasn't from rags to riches thing, but it was a great story behind it. And the fact that every player probably has their own story where elsewhere, not that they didn't fit in, but just things fell into place, and for the club and the team then to go on and achieve something like that, I think was a great achievement, and something that we're all probably still proud of.
Yeah. So you've done the double. You know that you're going into the UEFA Champions League. There's this great expectation ahead of the draw. When the draw was made and you were drawn in the second qualifying round against FH from Iceland, what was the initial reaction?
I think it was quite a favourable draw at the time. We could have got higher ranked teams, so it was quite favourable. And to be honest with you, no matter what anyone says, you need that little bit of luck, particularly around Europe. So I think it was quite favourable. But ultimately, when the draw comes, there's two sort of perspectives to it. You've got the staff who have a huge amount of work to do, and the players look at, I've never been to Iceland, and what does that mean? And it takes off from there, and you know, you've got league games, etc., that you need to worry on it from a player's perspective. So, but once there's a difference. There's a difference as a coach. The day before the training session of a European game, there's a difference. The players' mindset is different. Everything about it is different, and yeah, it's really start with exciting time.
What is that difference?
Well, it's hard to put a finger on it. I thought about it. You know, when you do a passing drill in Zenit St. Petersburg's training session, everybody's on the money and it's real.
Focus, is it?
Real focus, but you know, the stadium in Iceland wasn't that spectacular. But there is a focus in Europe. Europe, I think, catches imagination of all your friends and family and people you work with, people your dad work with. People on the street stop you. So I think as a player and as a coach, you know that, and it's just that little bit different and that little bit special.
You're at home in the first leg against FH, finishes 1-1. What are your recollections of that game?
For me in particular, it was FH scored late on in the game and the equaliser. And I think there was a mix-up at the back between, I think it was Stevie and Sean, was it?
Yeah.
But I remember the change room after, like, we were so disappointed. It actually felt like a loss to us because we knew from years previous that, like, you can't give up goals in Europe because it's really hard to go away from home and score. But Stephen Kenny being Kenny put a positive spin on it. We all went out there with full of confidence, and to be honest, their pitch, their little ground, it was fantastic. The facility, they made an indoor and an outdoor stadium, and it was fantastic. And the pitch kind of suited us, I think, more so with the wingers we had. Like Daryl Horgan was in flying form, and look, we obviously drew the home fixture late. It was a sucker punch, to be honest, but we went out there full of confidence, and I think our performance really showed that. It was a great game.
There was a lot of belief after that game. Afterwards, I do remember the dressing room. I just remember coming in. We were disappointed to concede so late because you should have won the game, but I don't think there was. We knew in the second leg this game, it's not like the tie was over by any stretch. We were exactly probably where we wanted to be, still in the tie, and we knew we'd learned a lot off them on that game.
But I remember after the first leg in particular, that result really. We had a long weekend as a staff, and we didn't have big staff at that time, but I know that result really hurt Stephen in particular, obviously, and we knew we had a lot of work to do with the group, but at the same time there was confidence. I think it was Lennon had scored a late goal for them, a Scottish guy, but in Europe, you know yourself, the home game is always different than away game. We don't know why, and away goals was obviously a big thing, so we were behind in the tie as well. Even though it was a draw, we knew we were behind, but a lot of work to do that weekend. That was, for all the success we had in Europe, that weekend was a huge weekend in terms of for Stephen at the time. I remember that very clearly.
For the coaching team, obviously before a first leg tie, you do as much work on the opposition as you can off video or whatever. Maybe you go and see them a couple of times. Having watched them against your own team then, does it give you a much clearer picture of what you're going to face in the second leg?
Yeah, I think, and it's also huge for the players. I mean, the one thing you hear, I remember someone telling me about Jose Mourinho, who used to give the players a booklet, and this was revolutionary. But we done that, and it was very. I think the work we done around as a staff around Europe was huge, and the good thing about our group was, if I made a mistake in that presentation, the lads let me know very clearly, and. But that was the good thing. There was no egos around that. It was good banter. It was great. But the lads were very well prepared in terms of, and not everyone likes presentations or the homework element of it, but I would say the players speaking on there, we'll ask them, they knew everything about the opposition around that time, everything. And I think that was but the difference is, Lennon runs in behind, but actually seeing it physically, it was, and that is the difference around Europe and week-to-week games.
No, look, I do agree. I had obviously been part of the Shamrock Rovers group who had a bit of a European run in 2011 and then into Europa League through that campaign. And not saying that we weren't as prepared, but we never got that detail. Do you know what I mean? We were prepared, but it was in a different way. And I just think for our group, and I know a lot of lads had been to college and stuff like that, it was very well received. I think we all liked going home and reading it. Where I think, I still have some of them books at home. It just has my memorabilia that I just kept, that players that I like to look back on and see where they are now. Do you know what I mean? We came across some amount of talent in that run, but we were definitely prepared, yeah.
Yeah, we used to slag some of the less educated in the group would slag the UCD nerds who would be like, when is the presentation? Can we do it today? And he'd be like,
Bedside
no, just
locker.
relax. We had that element of it. Like every group, not everyone was mad into it, but and it's got easier now as the game gets, or the world gets smaller in terms of the internet. But the preparation was huge, and I think you have to. It's part of the modern game now.
So, despite the concession of that late goal at Oriel Park, did you travel to Iceland then, confident that you'd go through? Did you?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when we arrived, and Vinny just mentioned it there. The training session before the game, everybody was in flying form. We were confident. The pitch was fantastic, and there was a real bite in those sessions. I remember because it was kind of like everybody wanted to be in the starting 11. So the competition was huge. It was fantastic. It was a great atmosphere around the squad. But and
on that, Stephen wasn't shy about if someone trained well.
Yeah,
he had his core players, but if someone tried well or done something, he wasn't shy about putting them in, and players knew that. I think that's a trait of his that people don't speak enough about.
Yeah.
Brian Gartland was out for that game as well, wasn't he?
That's right. He actually he was set piece at home, and he tried an overhead kick. Broke his hand. That was him. He missed that campaign.
He was like Jamie Vardy then for about a couple of weeks with that thing in his hand. Yeah.
But back to the game. Yeah, look, we are confident going in. Like, we fancied ourselves up against anyone.
Finner missed a penalty that night over there, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah,
early
doors. I was going to say that. Yeah.
But Stephen O'Donnell was in the team, and we've seen him score important European goals from the penalty spot, but Ronan Finn took the penalty that night.
Yeah, I think he scored 1 or 2 in the league leading into it or something, so he wanted it anyway. But listen, anyone can miss a penalty. It was no big deal. I'm just thankful we didn't pay for it. But I just remember at the time thinking, that could be a big moment. You know what I mean? You always think away in Europe, you get a penalty, you probably got to score it. But obviously the rest is history.
It gave them more of a lift, really, didn't it?
At that time, yeah. But obviously,
Davy's goal from outside the box.
Their keeper was, what was it?
He was the Faroe Islands
international.
Nielsen, I think was his name.
Nielsen, Gunnar Nielsen, wasn't he? Yeah. Ball but under. It kind of was not Davy's best shot. No, it was kind of just.
Well, that's the thing. Going back to the group, I remember, Davy's shot wasn't brilliant, and we weren't all shy about telling them as well, so it was a brilliant moment, and I think David went through that spell where everything he touched was everything worked, and he scored some really big goals. But
it was a very frustrating time. You're right.
Yeah. But he was in that zone where, and he wouldn't have been someone renowned from shooting outside the box, but the goal was brilliant, and he found the bottom corner, and as we said, the keeper was quite slow falling for it, as we tell him. But that was huge for us. But ultimately, then we had to ride our luck in that game. The centre half had a really big chance with a minute or 2 to go from a set piece that if he scored would have changed effectively history.
It's fine margins, isn't it?
It really is fine margins at that level.
Massively.
I actually remember for the set pieces, for our attacking set pieces. So that centre half was left free. He wasn't on anywhere, lads. Yeah. And my job was to just run from the back 4 and block him from attacking the ball and leave our centre half.
Again, it goes back to the modern day now. People know, but the homework of it, they basically put their centre half was 6'2". He was not Dumbele, but I can never remember his name. But he used to just go free in their league and head stuff away, and we've seen that as an area of weakness. And we almost scored. I think it was Dane flicked one just over the bar in the first half, but they were obviously a threat from set pieces, and they missed a big chance late in the game.
Yeah.
And there was a real sense of relief around the dressing room after that game, because the pressure does be on in them games. Irish teams are expected just to go and win them type of games.
Even sort of the financial pressure on the group, you know, knowing how important to get through a round or two is, I presume that's an extra layer of pressure on you.
Yes and no. I don't think I mean, you have to play the game, and if a club finances are that tight, that's not necessarily the players' responsibility. So it wouldn't have been. We found out subsequently that was a huge moment for the club, and the people running the club really needed that finance to help us kick on. But that wasn't, and it wasn't. It'd be easy to say that's your reputation on the line, but you've got to win them games. You're judged on them, and I think when your career is over as a footballer, you remember them little moments. So when they come, you have to take them, and thankfully, as a group, they did.
Were there many Dundalk fans in Iceland, by the way?
Yeah, there was. It was a great travelling actually, because I remember the change rooms were downstairs, and for us to get to the coach,
Remember that? Yeah.
we'd have to walk up the stairs, and every one of the fans, like it was an indoor kind of area, and every one of the fans waited for all the players to come up to the top of the stairs, and the atmosphere in the place
brilliant,
was electric, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Yeah, that must be kind of special for a player to feel that. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was Paul Brown, one of the owners, used to put together travelling crews, but they were just, and I think that's where the affinity of these players came from in Dundalk. They were they were enjoying the moments with the fans, but it was so easy for them supporters to mix with people, and we were on the same flights, and but the lads and the supporters had such a good bond. It was little moments like that.
We were all in the airport together. I remember you meeting them in the duty free. You couldn't do your shopping.
And like you were saying, Ciarán, earlier on about how great it is being part of a European campaign and travelling to different countries around Europe and all that kind of stuff. And for the fans, it's the exact same, you know, to see places that they probably never go to otherwise.
That's it. That's kind of what Vinny was saying earlier about why the European nights are different. They're just so memorable for the occasion. You're going to countries and seeing things you never would have seen in your lifetime, and you're using football to get you there. It was, and Dane used the word there a minute, moments. It's just, as we sit here even thinking back, there were so many moments in those campaigns for that year or two that just, you know, you'll never forget, and they're my medals at the end of my career now that I'm retired. You know, you look back at them and go, no, they were the best ones, you know, and there was plenty of them, and to be there with the fans, and there were so many nights that they got to enjoy with us. It was just it was a special time for the club.
So you go through on away goals rule with the 2-2 draw in Iceland, and then the draw is made for the third qualifying round, and it's BATE Borisov again. What was the feeling when you drew them?
Not good, was it? It wasn't.
Could have been a bit more glamorous and a bit easier, but
we'd been there the year previous, and to say that we got the runaround would have been an understatement.
the first leg.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that was I watched most of that game. I was happy to be watching that one. It was one of the few ones where I'm happy where I was. They were a good team at home. In fairness to them.
Yeah, they'd serious outfit, and they'd internationals right throughout the team, and like they'd probably about 60-70% possession. So look, we knew it was going to be a tough tie. We were obviously drawn away first, which was good. It was the opposite way the year previous. So we had a chance, we felt. So obviously, we went out there, and again, same thing happened the year previous. We lost 1-0 and had very little of the ball, and it was actually a nightmare of a night, you know. But I always remember, do you remember Stevie O'Donnell in the change room after that game?
Yeah.
He went he gave his opinion to everyone, you know. It was kind of a wake-up call. Like, we're gonna, if we go home with the same mindset as we did last year, we're finished, we're done. That was definitely one of the key moments for me in that year anyway.
What did you say to him?
Who? To Stevie? Nothing, no. Stevie was just telling us after
to you.
It wasn't me personally. No, he was literally, he just came in and we weren't good on the night, whether subconsciously felt we were inferior was fair. We listen, we were second best that night and we knew it, but I suppose Stevie, and I remember Vinny and Stephen both making the point as well, it's not over. They don't travel well. don't think because tonight went like that, it meant that the tie was over. And he was using a few different words, but he was ramming it home that was the case, and so was Vinny, and so was Steve.
I think Stevie used one of the terms I remember him using very clearly, because again, going back to the group, it became almost, we call it a meme now, a team of mutes. And it was funny because that was one of his sayings, and it was just that was in reference to, you know, helping each other. And but they had over 70% possession. Someone like Gordychuk was just an amazing footballer, and when you see that reel, or Stasovic was amazing. But got to give credit to Stephen there. I remember having a discussion just before half time, and if you think about the players, Robbie Benson and Patrick McElhenney were taken off at half time. Yeah. We said we've clearly discussed this in the heat of the battle. An amazing stadium as well, in Borisov. But we said we've got to stay in this tie as best we can, and we brought John Mountney on, who done an amazing job on Stasovic. His running power was amazing, and we actually brought Chris Shields into the team for Robbie Benson, and we were a little bit more solid. We still got the run around, but gave up less chances in the second half, and I think that could have easily been a 4-0 defeat, and easily been. And I think the change of that, and I have to say, probably the best performance of that run. From coaches see things differently as players, but Paddy Barrett's performance in the second half against Rodionov was just out of this world. Belarus international, he was absolutely outstanding, and I think that gave us a little bit of belief. Yes, we had been beaten, but that dressing room, I think that's where Stephen, to be fair, works his magic in terms of this second leg and giving the team a bit of belief.
No, because I do remember coming on, and when you come on as a centre forward, usually you're thinking, can I get a goal here? I remember coming on that light, and your starting position was, if you do a heat map, you were like a number 6. You know, we were just trying to stay in the tie. It was like that. Yeah. But as probably Vinny said, thinking of it as a player, it was like, I wanted to score. But looking back at it now, it was probably a great result to get out of there that night with the tie still in there.
It turned out to be. In terms of going to a place like Belarus, maybe it's changed now, but I do remember when Shamrock Rovers played in Czechoslovakia, as it was at the time. They started drilling the road outside the hotel at 5 o'clock in the morning on the day of the match. And you know, you talk about dark arts and football on and off the field. Did you come across any kind of stuff like that, or was it all okay?
Well, I will give the credit to the owners of the club at the time. We stayed in the best hotels. We travelled like a proper, and I think some of that would have came from Stephen in terms of insisting on things being done right. But we travelled in the best hotels, or best planes, best hotels, and there was never any sort of messing in that sense. We weren't. Sometimes I've been away with clubs where it's been a little bit ragball from an Irish perspective, and you get plays out. No excuses in terms of how we travelled. So none of that affected us. But Belarus was a difficult place to see in one sense. We seen some of the best parts of it, but some of the other parts of it, some of their memories of some things were difficult, and you look at the world we're living in now, and you can see why it's a difficult place to work.
The one thing that sticks out for me in the hotel was I think it was Paddy Barrett. There was gas masks in the wardrobe. Paddy getting on the corridor gas masks on. It was gas, but
it was gas.
Literally.
So you left Belarus. You're 1-0 down after the first leg. You're coming back, and the second leg is going to be played in Tala Stadium now instead of Oriel Park. As a coach, would you, in your own mind at the time before the game, were you thinking, I'd prefer to be bringing these fellas back to Oriel Park on our pitch that we're familiar with and what have you?
Yes and no. I mean, parts of it is, look, the bigger discussion around Irish football is, I think, stadiums, and that's where people say, why would European nights are special, but part of it is the venues, it's part of it is the facilities, things are done right, but also our own ground was good to us, and you would see them not really fancying it in our changing rooms, etc. But at the same time, we had really good footballers, and our players, we would have discussed that with the players, and I think they would really enjoy the Tala Stadium or the better stadium. So we people often say that Dundalk team were helped by the pitch. Our away record statistically is much better than a home record at times. So and our players preferred to play away. So Um,
You know, like that, obviously Oriel Park, there was a special atmosphere there on your European nights, but I always remember walking down Tala for the warm-up, before even the warm-up started, there was a couple of thousands in the place already.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, wasn't it? It was just...
It never didn't feel like a home game or anything like that. Like we just took to it straight away. Do you know what I mean? We packed it out every night, but we were there. It was great, and I'm not just saying, but a lot of us were ex-Rovers and stuff back then. We're all used to playing on the pitch as well, so we took to it well. But yeah, listen, in an ideal world, it would have been our home in Oriel Park where you play your league games, but no, it didn't seem to affect us at all, though, in the bigger picture.
And it kind of turned out to be the perfect night.
Absolutely, you couldn't ask for much more, could you? It was just so special. I remember the rain coming down late in the game, and things had just fell into place. But I think that was one of those nights, obviously, as you go on, with other ones where we deserved to win on the night. There wasn't a smash and grab really over there. You know, staying in the tie turned out to be the task that we needed. But at home, with 3-0 in the end, and deservedly so.
And we also learned from the first game, so it wasn't a gun-ho approach at the start, and we felt as a staff and that we let the team grow into it. John Mountney came into the team, again had to do that job from a defensive point of view, because conceding would have been a disaster for us. And but to be fair, the players grew, and I think the atmosphere at the stadium meant that there was a real confidence in the ground. And
the time on their first goal as well, just before half time, gave us a massive lift. And actually, the first half was beautiful, wasn't it? The sun was shining. Yeah, it was
summer's day then.
A great evening. And then,
but that goal just before half time, that inner belief in the dressing room was just.
We knew we had them then, didn't we?
You sort of, nobody knows why, the psychology of sports, but I remember saying to our kit man Noel, who played such a huge part in everything. There was a small thing with the football. UEFA sent two boxes of football. And whoever won the tie kept the Champions League football in this beautiful presentation box. And I'd said to the players, they wanted me. Noel had told me that BATE wanted to know where the balls were because they were taking them home with them. And but it wasn't true, but Noel wound me up about this. So I was saying to the lads, but I remember saying to Noel at half time, them balls are staying here. And because that inner belief was that they were, and I think all the lads got one of those Champions League balls.
They still have it,
and they still have it. But it was little things like that where you just knew at half time, this is our moment. And
after the game then, you remember? There's a big box of 20 balls and everybody's just throwing these Champions League balls
here's one for everybody.
And it's little things like that you just, to the outside world, you can't explain. But I remember saying, I used some expletives, but they want these balls, we're not giving them these balls. And it was little moments like that where I'm sure not everyone bought into it, but the lads were like, and it was actually our kit man who wound me up about it, which was a totally untrue story at the time. But they never asked for them, which he later told me. But it's amazing how little things like that mean so much to a group of footballers.
It's a great story, and it does point to how important the psychology of an occasion.
Well, I've only one. I don't keep memorabilia. The players tend to do more, but I've only one piece of memorabilia, and it's that Champions League ball still in the box.
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
Signed by the squad. But even after the game, like we had Martin O'Neill came in to congratulate us, and then the president Michael D came in. So it was kind of really after that we kind of like, geez, we really have done something big here, haven't we? And
that was the biggest I've ever felt, like the biggest, not to be a superstar, but like we really went to a new level of like the whole country was buying into this, and obviously we qualified at this stage for at least the Europa League. That's what it guaranteed.
Stages,
and we were in the final round of the Champions League, but like really things started snowballing for us then. Everyone was buying in, everyone wanted a piece. It was it was a media frenzy at times. It was a great time to be.
And the likes of the Champions League music. So when we had to play Galway actually in between that, but I'd be the one who doing some of the presentations in terms of the opposition. But you play a bit of the Champions League music, and it was fun and it was laughter, and sometimes Stephen would look at me going, "What are you doing?" And he'd give out to me quite a lot at different stages, but we knew we belonged in that competition. We were in the Champions League.
Even your presentations, remember you'd put the Champions League crest at the start beside the Dundalk crest, and you started off with the music. It was brilliant.
And it's that trick of it's not even a trick, but it was that moment that you know you belonged in such a senior proper competition. And I remember saying to Sean Gannon was always loved to chat about little things. Remember when we're going to watch a Champions League final, these are the winners of the competition you're in, and you know Sean's looking at me going, yeah, and that's why I want to go as deep as I can in this. And it was true. Ultimately, the winners of the Champions League final was going to be watched by millions and millions of people, and we were only maybe 10, 12 toys away from that. We were never going to get there, of course, but it was such a special competition.
And you were saying, Dane, after that goal before half-time, when you were going in, you felt like you almost had them on the ropes. Was it something in their eyes, or as you were going in at half-time? Or
it just felt like we had their number. Like Darryl had an exceptional first half, and like they doubled up on him then towards the end of that half, didn't they? And he put the ball in for Davy's header. Yeah. But like everybody going into the change room, come on, we have it. Like we have them, and it was just a confidence that we were going to win the game. And we weren't going to lose it this year, and we felt this was it, and it was something special that we could do, and inevitably we did.
I think any inferiority complex that had been from the first leg had gone in the first half, and then I just remember part of it going, it's coming here. Do you know what I mean? We had just scored, as Dane said, right at the right time. Half time was just bubbly. We couldn't wait for the second half to get back out, as everyone. And listen, the rest was history then.
It just seems amazing that they can give you such a runaround in the first leg and be so good at home, and yet you completely ran away with it in the end in the second leg at Tala. Amazing second half.
I suppose the psychology of football is or any team sport is not really understood at that level, and nobody knows why. But and I suppose there was some harsh words. Stephen O'Donnell was quite strong after the first game. Obviously, the manager gave the team a huge belief that. Remember the year before we played them, they didn't outplay us or they didn't outscore us in any way, shape or form. So once you know you're still in ties, it gives you a huge belief. But that half-time, I remember very clearly speaking to Darryl, and Darryl's a great guy, and he just said, just get away from me. Go away from me.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, because he was in the zone.
Yeah.
I went, okay, walked away from him. And you could take offence to it, but he was basically saying, just leave me, I have this. And you come away going, yeah, this is it. And he was in such a zone.
And when I was just checking the time of Davy's second goal on the hour, presumably the ground is going mental, and then you really feel this is our.
It was exceptional. Like it was just, the place was, the noise that night was electric. And I know I spoke about it earlier, but whatever about the rain, it even marked the occasion even more. Do you know what I mean? It made it more iconic in the sense that, I know we're skipping on a bit, but even for Robbie's final goal, it's lashing rain. There's knee slides everywhere at the corner flag. The bench has erupted. Everyone's soaked. But it was one of those moments. It was so picturesque as well that you can actually just remember it so clearly. And it was just the perfect stage, and it was the perfect night.
But I think that when Davy scored, it probably sums up Stephen's coaching beliefs and the whole sort of team's belief was, if you think about the logic of that, we were 2-1 up, one more goal effectively put them through, but we actually didn't do the typical thing of let's sit back here, let's make changes, and we put another centre half in, and we'd soak up a bit of pressure and hope we hang on. And I think the whole group felt, and it was obviously led by the manager, but we felt, let's get the winner, let's actually make sure this is done. And I think that sort of second half, for me, as much as we had great nights before and after it, that second half showed the DNA of Dundalk at that time was about actually
even that goal,
get the next one. Not hang on, get the next one.
I still get a bit of stick for this goal. Remember Fat went on a run in the corner and gave a loopy cross into the back post. And I was actually in the box, so I shouldn't actually been there. I should have been. But that was Stephen Kenny and Vinny's just get forward any chance you can. And the ball just fell to me perfectly. And I could just hear Davey Mank screaming, put it in. And I don't know how he got his head on it.
But you were actually shooting, weren't you?
No,
it was
definitely a
cross.
shot.
It was a cross all day.
The hardest cross I've ever seen.
Yeah, but and not to labour the point, Con, let me just explain to you. It's deep in injury time. One goal knocks us out of the Champions League. And it is modern football now, but our left back, an Irish team, up against it, our left back is 2 yards off the end line, getting a cross from our right winger, our left back. sends it back into the box. Davy leans back and heads into the back of the net. And the
great
belief in the team there, and the belief from the manager and the DNA of our side was just be brilliant. You look at this modern Liverpool team now where they're talking about fullback crossing the fullback. That happened regularly with these guys. So that for me, that sort of goal summed up everything about us and the DNA of what we do.
I always remember watching that match. It was during the Rio Olympic Games, and I was in Rio, and in RTE studios in Rio, they had a feed of the match sent through live, and like for an hour and a half, everybody forgot about the Olympics. Just everybody who was in that studio was watching the match, going mental. And the curious thing was that the studio next door was the Belarusian TV, so they would have heard us going crazy in the studio. Like it's a memory that's stuck in my brain, like even though I was miles away from Tala that night. But it must be, when you reflect on your career, I know you're still playing, Dane, but like it must be one of those nights that will be right up there at the very top, I suppose.
Oh, it's amazing. Just, as I said, it was just iconic to be part of it. It was iconic to witness it. The atmosphere, what it meant to the club, you know, it was unknown territory now, you know, what you'd achieved. You were at a minimum in the Europa League, you were still in the Champions League. It was fantastic. And I just, when you look back at it, I'd say every person in that stadium will remember that night. Do you know what I mean? I'd say they still talk about it today. And there's very few of those moments throughout your career that you remember like that, and that is definitely one of them.
So suddenly you're now one match away from the group phase of the Champions League, and the draw is made. Legia Warsaw come out, and that was always going to be a tough one. But when that draw was made, did you think we have a chance here?
Again, would have been at the time myself and Jerry Spain's job to go and let's put together a presentation. First of all, you produce that for the manager. So the key to it all is that when you meet a team in Europe, you spot where's the pace, and if there isn't loads of pace in the team, that gives you half a chance in terms of, because pace can hurt you at that level, and there wasn't huge pace in the Legia team, so we're like, okay, grand, that's the starting point, and we can go from there. Got quality players, and Serbian centre forward Perchek was really good, but it wasn't a team that you really feared, in the sense of they weren't this outstanding football pacey team. So that meant, you know what, we have a chance here. Obviously, when you're watching them, you're watching in these fantastic stadiums, and you have to cut that part of it out and watch what happens on the pitch. And we didn't feel that they were that far ahead of us, and we said, you know what, we have a chance. We have a chance. And
you've gone from Oriel Park to Tala Stadium to the Aviva now for the home leg, the first leg against Legia. And again, it must be kind of special for a player to be walking out the tunnel in the Aviva, you know, 30,000 people there.
As we were just saying, like the day before, you get to train in the stadium. So we were all, actually, myself and yourself did the media day for that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So like we were going into the Aviva, and it was probably only our second or third time there. I think we were in a final the year before, but to play in a national stadium and do a media day for the Champions League, it was amazing. And
out of 33,000 that were there, I mean, 32 of them were up for us. Yeah. I played in the Aviva before, actually, for Shamrock Rovers against Liverpool in a friendly, and it was 50,000, but I'd say 48,000 were up for Liverpool. And this was the first time you're in the national stadium and everyone's supporting. Felt like everyone was supporting you. And of all the days or the occasions that I played in, I'll never forget that. The Champions League music in the Aviva, they had the Champions League banners around. It was just,
even before like leaving the hotel, we had to get a guard escort.
Yeah.
And the traffic was a standstill going through the city, and you just hear these sirens and everyone's making way for it, and we're going through all the office blocks and everybody's out the window giving it the fist and come on, and it was just a great atmosphere. And it was
I'll never forget, our great friend Harry Taff was at the front of the bus with his camcorder recording, and he's banging on the window as well at people, and it was just like Dublin came to a standstill to just parted the ways and allowed us travel straight through. Our great bus driver for once, Jerry, didn't get lost, thankfully, but it was an amazing time. The buzz, the atmosphere, what the right word is, what was on the bus travelling to Aviva was kind of amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Legia obviously win 2-0, and the second goal is like virtually the last kick of the game. That must have been such a sucker punch.
Yeah, it was still like, it was a German referee, and the penalty decision against Andy was really, really harsh. I know there was some debate at the time about whether it was or wasn't, but we felt it was really, really harsh at the time.
One of those handball ones where it was,
he went to block a shot and his hand was out behind his back and it hit him, and it just and that referee subsequently went on, managed at a World Cup and gave a really harsh penalty. I remember having a bit of fun with Andy about it, but
Something similar.
And it was really, that was a sucker punch, that penalty.
I had actually missed a great chance.
Yeah.
We had kind of a pull back, it broke to the edge and I hit it, and you got to hit the target, and I think if I hit the target I score, and I've hit it over. And I remember actually Michael O'Neill was doing commentary at the night before, and he was criticising me of it, and I remember thinking, I've watched it back a few times, it was a huge chance and could have changed things that night, but sure.
Again, we're back to fine margins, aren't we?
Fine margins, yeah.
Well, we were in the game, and that was
Yeah.
ultimately, when you look at results over in Europe at different stages, is once you're in the game, we weren't completely outplayed there, and we came off disappointed, we came off annoyed with the referee. The dressing room was obviously sore, you don't like losing, but we were in the game, strangely enough. And again, for whatever reason, there was an inner belief again gone, these haven't outplayed us, we have a chance here in the second leg.
Well, even in the two previous toys, we had to go and score away from home.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, wasn't it? Robbie with that iconic volley.
Never to be forgotten.
Great. Like, even like the stand in the background was just
But
the atmosphere.
the best atmosphere I've ever witnessed in any football.
Hands down.
I mean, my most favourite moment is standing on the cup when Jack retired for Ireland, but I've been to European Championships, etc. I've never witnessed an atmosphere of that Legia.
Cheers, lads, yeah.
That Legia game, but Ciarán wasn't there, unfortunately.
I was injured at home. I watched it. Stevie didn't travel either. He was doing media for it, and I probably, now that I'm retired, that's my biggest regret, or the thing I've probably missed out on the most. I knew what the atmosphere was like. It's the third round of the Champions League qualifier. I knew I'd probably have a role to play. I was, oh my God, it's kind of an injury that could have been avoided in the build up to it, and obviously missed the night.
And it cost us, to be honest with you, because we didn't have a bench. We didn't have a real strength and depth in our squad enough. We as I said, whether Benson started or didn't, or Shield started or didn't, or Paddy Barrett was able to do a job, but up front, the combination of David and Ciarán was huge for us, and we were heading for. They were on the ropes.
Well, I was sitting
The
at
players
home.
sent off.
Yeah,
didn't
I
they?
was
So you're
sitting at
1-0 up
home.
and they're down to.
I
were
was
on the
sitting at
ropes,
home
I'm
and
like,
they were
come
down to 10 men and we're 1 up. And I remember thinking to myself, what an opportunity. It was made to kind of...
And you see managers and coaching having these conversations, and I remember clearly Stephen saying to me, what we do next, even though he had his own mind made up, and I turned to the bench, and with young Michael O'Connor there, who was a really young kid at the time, and he was only on the bench because of Ciarán, and we had to try something different. We were 1 goal away from, because they were on the ropes, they were down to 10 men, and we were 1 goal away from Champions League football, and that was a huge blow for us at the time, not having Ciarán there. And it's funny, coaches always remember what didn't go well, and that night not having the strength and depth on the bench still bugs me.
When they got again an injury time goal for an equaliser, at that point were you kind of throwing caution to the wind and going for that second goal?
Yeah, so we'd opened up at that stage, and we had huge pressure. They were down to 10 men. Their Polish centre-half Pazdan, remember, it was heading stuff away, getting the blocks in.
We were getting chances.
And momentum in football, as we keep saying, is huge. It would have been 2-2 in the tie, them down to 10 men, and us completely in the ascendancy. And I felt Champions League football, group stages was on at that moment. If we got 1 little bit of luck and 1 goal went away.
Robbie was close again with kind of like a
half volley over his head, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think they went on to get Dortmund, Barcelona and Ajax in their
Real
group.
Madrid.
Real Madrid, wasn't it? Yeah.
And what was the other team? Sporting from Portugal.
But it's amazing, like the disappointment in the group, because we felt group stages was on for that, because of that second half in particular. We were in the tie.
Yeah.
It's close. I mean, when you look back on it now, it must be the one thing that really upsets you in a way.
Yeah, that's what I said. Players are different, but the difference with me playing and coaching, Chris, coming away from coaching, the ones that got away are the ones that bug you. You don't remember winning the league or whatever. You always remember what got away. And ultimately, our bench in that Champions League playoff game probably cost us from qualifying.
But you had the safety net of the Europa League, which again was lovely to have. You're into a group stage of the Europa League, and games against Zenit and against Maccabi. I never know if it's Maccabi or Maccabi Tel Aviv and AZ Alkmaar. And I suppose, Killer, from your point of view, that game in Holland is another one of those career memories that you'll never forget.
No, and that's why, because obviously I wasn't there for Legia, and I come on in the next 2 games and scored, and I kept thinking to myself, imagine if I'd been in there for Legia, it would have been the other way around. But anyway, listen, neither here nor there, but there, you listen, as I said earlier, when you're retired and you look back, obviously those goals to get a draw in Holland and to beat Maccabi Tel Aviv at home are the centrepiece for my career, really, because they're the ones that are being remembered. And I think.
But the header you scored there, it was a sensational header, but it was yourself and who was marking at the time?
Veghorst. Yeah, your man at Burnley now. He was
Burnley.
6'7", and I've often slagged Gareth about it. Gareth told me to take him out of the box. Gareth said to me, "Here, you get out here, bring him with you," and we're getting. I said, "Gareth, I'm a centre forward. There's a minute left. We're down to 10 men. I'm staying in here."
But there's a great picture of that goal. You have him by like.
It could easily be a free out as well, but sure.
But it was in the 88th minute, and then the fourth official, I said to him, how long injury time? So the lads go celebrating, and the assistants obviously organising stuff, and so I said, how long's left? 9.
Yeah. You man, because Gary Rogers had knocked their striker out, nearly killed him. You man's headed it, and Gary came out and clashed with him, and he was out. So it was a long stoppage, but we had a lot of work to do.
Was that Jan Bash?
No. Jan Bash actually went off crying.
Yeah,
he thought he was unconscious, your man, getting stretchered off. And
I remember that actually.
Jan Bash.
So
it was Voigtens he hit, wasn't it? It was Voigtens he knocked out.
9 of the longest minutes of your.
Yeah, because at that stage, I mean, picking up a point at that level, it also gave us, and this is the thing people don't understand, but like, it comes from the manager, but we were planning, how do we get out of the group? How do we get out of the group? And people go, well, they're just at getting there, that's enough. Now, how do we get out of the group? And it was a long 9 minutes, and that was a great start. And we knew we had to play Zenit as well, which was going to be a difficult one in the middle of it. So we were like, if we can take a point here, it puts us in a position to qualify.
Well, right up until game week 6, we had a chance of getting out of that group, the whole way through that group.
So if you remember, and my best moment of it all will be different than everyone else's, because the Maccabi game in Tala, where we won 1-0, it was, of all the years watching League of Ireland teams in Europe, and for me that was the most complete performance of any team. We completely dominated the game, and we deserved to win by more than 1-0. And I got huge pride out of that. But then we went to Zenit, and Dane, we were 1-0 up in Tala, and Dane hits the bar, and I with a header or the post from a free kick, and it's huge regret, because if that goes in, I think we qualify out of the group.
Yeah, there's an in-play table somewhere of, as that game's gone on, when we're 1-0 up, we're 7 points out of 9 in the group with 10 minutes to go, or 15 minutes to go in the game. We're nearly 4 points ahead of second, and it's how, again, fine margins, but that in-running table looked very, very special.
Like if you had only had scored.
Where did it all go wrong, Dane?
You remember that header there? It was a beautiful header.
It was like, jeez, I remember it. Do you know what? I met it full on, and it hit the foot of the post, and I was thinking, right, it's gone back across the 6-yard. Like, hopefully one of the lads will get it now. But it actually went right through the box, didn't it? Because
then it had gone, and the second goal meant, I don't think they would have went and emptied the kitchen sink, but they ended up winning.
They had such big names there, like, you had obviously Witzel in the middle there. Do they have the fight in them to fight a little Irish team? I don't think so. We were on top, we were comfortable, and then with 20 minutes to go, it ended up scoring 2, didn't they? And that's what
you never got beaten by more than a goal in any match in that group as well, which again points to the quality of the.
Yeah, we were in games, and we felt we were in games, and I think that's huge.
We scored in every game bar 1, wasn't it? Alkmaar at home. We scored in all the others, so we were always competitive. But I think that's what I was saying earlier. When I was at Shamrock Rovers in 2011, we were in the groups, but we never picked up a point, and we were never really in it. Whereas this time, Even going to Tel Aviv on the last game day of the group, we said if we won and result went our way, we'd get through. So we were never not in it.
So I suppose just in conclusion, when you reflect back on that campaign, so many highs, a couple of lows, but overall just amazing memories.
Yeah, I think it was life-changing for the group. Remember, these guys were all young people at the time. Very few of them were married, so it was such an early part of development of becoming adults. And I think, look, you can't hide away from the financial ramifications. For players, was a huge boost in their life. So it was life-changing. It was life-changing for people like Darrell Horgan, who moved on. Andy Boyle moved on to the UK. Patrick McElhenney. So I think it was life-changing. For people, and it was such great memories, so young in their careers and young in their lives as young adults. And I think for me, it's funny, you remember talking to Stephen about it, we were so happy for, it might be in a deposit for somebody on a house. That's or different things. Yeah. And it's that side of it that, you know, people on the outside don't really see. It was life-changing for these guys. And
I think everyone went and got married then, didn't they?
Yeah, and changed everything. But
that must have been a tasty bonus then.
Yeah, like Vinny said, it wasn't a life-changing amount, but like, I don't think for 1 second the players thought of it from a financial point of view.
We were happier with those football.
It was never.
It was never in the change room.
No, and I can say, because as the assistant, you hear everything, and when there's something to be complained about, they come to you before the manager to sound out, how's the manager going to react to this? Like, or can we have a day off? Well, don't go and see him now, or go and see him, yeah, you've a chance. But that was never discussed. Obviously, there was certain discussions going on in terms of players have to protect themselves. But it wasn't like, it was never a discussion around anything, or it was never something that we felt there was a problem. Because a lot of the time when money's involved, there's problems somewhere along the line. But no, it was never a part of the group, and definitely not. It was managed really well.
That's it. No, actually, I do remember arguing with you because the contracts had to be extended, didn't they?
That's right, yeah.
A couple of weeks at the end of our season usually ended. So there was one little bit of I remember everyone had to kind of extend their contracts, but it wasn't even much of an argument. I think everyone would have played for free at that stage.
Yeah, we had to extend contracts by 6 weeks at the time because the League of Ireland season ended on such a date, and we obviously had to play right into December, which was strange. I mean, there was no time off for anybody, but it was well worth it.
Great time. And of course you had a cup final in the middle of all of that, right? Between, was it 2 games with Zenit?
Yeah,
we were in Russia.
We were in Russia, and we jumped out of the plane and landed in the Aviva and played the game. Yeah, it was as bizarre as that. We were. Yeah, it was really
whirlwind of a time.
Yeah.
Listen, it's amazing listening to you, and they are great memories, and it's, you know, hopefully we'll have more for Irish teams in the near future. But great talking to you today. Thanks a million, guys.
2016 was an amazing time for Dundalk in Europe, and hopefully we'll see plenty more of that for League of Ireland teams in the years going forward. And just a reminder, for residents in the Republic of Ireland, you can access every Champions League game live on the LiveScore app.